Hello, I'm Laura from Littledale Dogs, and today we're going to be doing some Treibball. So the first thing we tend to teach the dogs is what we call the out position, and this is getting the dogs from beside you out the opposite side of the ball, facing you, ready to push the ball towards you. So we start off with them here by our side, and what we do is we just lure them round. See? Good girl. So they're sitting opposite us, ready to push that ball. Now we want them as straight as possible, because obviously later on when we go and get them to push the ball, if they're sitting wonky, the ball's going to go not necessarily directly towards us. So it needs to be a nice straight out. We also need to think with slightly bigger dogs that they need to be a little bit further away from the ball, because they need to be able to get their neck down in that gap to be able to get that nice low push, which we'll go on and teach later on. Lure them round. A little bit wonky, could do with a little bit straighter. That's where she's quite long. Good girl. There's a good girl. So at this stage, they're not actually touching the ball. You want to do lots and lots of practice at this. If you've got a dog that's totally obsessed by balls, what you could do is replace the ball with something else. So something like a washing basket or a chair or something, just to get them used to going into that out position without touching the ball. And that's one of the reasons why we always do the out first before teaching the push, because we need to get them used to working around the ball without being totally obsessed by it. Once you've been practicing for a while, what you can then start doing is adding in the word, because with the lure, which is what we're doing with the hand with the food in it, is we're just teaching them where we want them to be. Eventually, when you've got a big distance in there, you're not going to be able to put your hand around the ball, so they'll need to be responding to the voice cue. So we'll start with them by our side, and what you do is just before, good girl, just before you're about to, you'd go, Sadie, out, and then show her what you want. Good girl. But you've got a little bit of delay there. You've got your word coming first and then your hand signal. So you're getting them to listen to that word and link the word with the action, which is going into the out position. Good girl. Sadie. Out. Good girl. I always get them to go into a sit in the out position, because it then means, especially with a beginner dog, if they go into that position and they're wonky, you can then call them back, correct them before they then push it forward. Later on, when we put the push in as well, if they go into that out, they're wonky and then they start pushing it off in the wrong direction, you've got no way of stopping them. But just having a little pause means you can check they're in the right place before that ball comes towards you. As they get better at it, they begin to really understand what that word means. So they'll be sitting by your side and you'll be able to go out and they'll move around there without you having to do too much of a hand signal. You can then start adding in a bit more distance. And to do this, we do it very, very slowly. So you literally take a tiny step back from the ball and you're practicing at that kind of distance. And then it's slowly, slowly, until you've got a lot more distance and your hand isn't physically going towards the ball, but they're still going into that nice out position. When you're putting the distance in, never be afraid to go back and get closer to the ball. Some dogs will, as soon as you've got too much distance, they'll start coming to sit between you and the ball, in which case you need to go back, get them back out there, and then kind of start putting a bit more distance in slowly. So when you're doing it, you obviously want to start in a nice quiet area to start with, because there's too many distractions and other things going on. The dog's going to have his mind on other things. So with any training, you want to start off and make it as easy and simple as possible for the dog. So you're in an environment where you've got you, the ball, and not a lot else going on, and you having your treats and your positive rewards there are the most important thing in the environment to motivate that dog. You don't want them going off and chasing rabbits and finding other things to motivate themselves with. These balls are 45 centimetres and they're generally good for most dogs. The important thing when choosing the ball size for your dog is your dog must be able to see over the top of it. I have got some larger balls that I sometimes use for bigger dogs, but for something small, if you can't see over the top of it, you're going to be getting a very wonky out, because when you've got the distance there and you send your dog round, they need to be able to still see you. So for really tiny dogs, I'd literally go down to football size so they can see over the top of it. If your dog struggles or makes a mistake at any point, it's always best to try and simplify it. So if your dog starts doing really, really wonky outs, I'd reduce the distance, go right back up to here. If necessary, go back to luring it to show the dog exactly where you want them to be. You don't want to carry on training if they keep getting it wrong, because all you're going to end up with frustration from them and from you. So this is all about teaching that out position, and I tend to teach this first because what you'll find is that dogs love pushing the ball. And the out bit for some dogs can be quite boring, so what they're doing is going around there and standing opposite this big item that they're desperate to get their nose under. So if you can get a really, really good out first, you'll find later on when you add the push will then automatically reinforce that out position. And also for dogs that are obsessed by balls, you need to get them to be able to work around the ball without being so obsessed or trying to grab it and bite it. So this is a really good exercise for that, because the ball shouldn't be moving when you're doing the out.